All right, good morning functions. This is the warm-up that I started today, and I did this warm-up because a lot of people were struggling with this in their homework. So I want to go ahead and go over this with you. So the first thing we want to do is we want to check to see, because we're adding and subtracting and we're only simplifying. We're going to want to check to see if we can factor any of the denominators. X plus 1 does not factor, x minus 1 does not factor, but x squared minus 1 does factor, and I can see right away perfect square, minus sign, perfect square. I'm going to do a difference of squares. So this is going to simplify. So then we're going to have 3x over x plus 1 plus 4 over x minus 1 minus. So here's another thing. I don't like subtraction problems ever. I'm going to go ahead and change that and make this a -6 right away over, and then we're going to do x plus 1, x minus 1, because that's what it factors to. So when we're simplifying, the next step after we factored is to find the lowest common denominator. So I'm going to write that up here. My LCD, I'm going to start with my first fraction. I've got an x plus 1. Then I go to my second fraction. I've got an x minus 1. And I already have both represented there. So to find the domain, I set both of those not equal to 0 and solve. And then add 1, and I get the domain is all real numbers such that x does not equal a -1 or a +1. So now I have the domain. So now I just have to come back here, and I'm going to have to multiply by whatever's missing in the denominator. So I already have an x plus 1, so I need to multiply by an x minus 1 here. And I'm going to do that here. And then this one already has an x minus 1, but it's missing an x plus 1. So I'm going to do x plus 1. And this one is missing nothing. So now I have my common denominator, which is x plus 1, x minus 1. I have it right here, here, and here. Now I just need to distribute. So I have 3x times x, which is 3x squared. 3x times -1 is -3x. Then I'm going to this is a parentheses with a 1. Then I need to distribute here. So then I have positive 4 times x, which is a plus 4x. And then I have 4 times 1, which is a plus 4. And then I have a plus -6, which is just -6. Okay, so now I have that. Now the last step I have to do is combine my like terms. So it looks to me like I only have one 3x squared. Again, it's going to all be over the same common denominator. Alright, so I have one 3x squared. I have a -3x and a 4x, so that's a plus 1x, -3 plus 4, and then I have a 4 minus 6, which is a -2. Alright, that's that. Now my last step is to see if I can factor. So now we've done that. We've done step 5, was to distribute and combine like terms. I distributed the negative right here. I made this a plus and changed this numerator to negative. So now I have to see if I can do any factoring. Well, I don't see any GCFs, greatest common factors, so I'm going to go to the box. And I'm going to put 3x squared here, -2 here, and a 1x here. So I need to multiply those, and I get -6x squared. So then I know that I'm going to have a 3x and a 2x, a -2x. Multiply those together, I get -6. Add them together, I get a +1. And -2. So I can factor out a 3 and an x, get an x, 3x times x is 3x squared, 3x times 3, x times -2. Hold on. So you guys probably caught my mistake and you should have said something, but 3x times 1 gives me a 3x. Then -2 times 1 is -2. So now I have this fully factored, so I'll make it a different color. So then I have 3x minus 2 all over x plus 1 all over my common denominator, right? I have an x plus 1 and an x minus 1. So now I just have to find my big one. So I look for 3x minus 2, don't see one. How about an x plus 1? Yep, right here. So that turns into a 1. And I end up with a final answer of 3x minus 2 all over x minus 1. And that, my friends, is my final answer. Let's go ahead and get that in your notes. Essentially, we're doing the exact same thing. We're just combining more like terms in the numerator. All right, this is solving. We are going to be practicing this. So we started this yesterday, but we haven't gotten that far. So the first thing we want to do is the same thing that we've been doing, which is we're going to factor the denominators. I can't factor this one, I can't factor this one, and we just did this one, so we know what it is. So I am going to factor that. So I'm going to end up with 3 over x plus 1 is equal to 1 over x minus 1, which is minus 2 over x plus 1, x minus 1. Again, I'm going to find my lowest common denominator, and it is going to be x plus 1 and x minus 1. And it's already represented here. My domain is going to be all real numbers such that x cannot equal a negative 1 or a positive 1. And I did that already, so you set each one of these not equal to 0. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my lowest common denominator all the way across. So I am going to do x plus 1 times x minus 1 all over 1, and I'm multiplying. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, x plus 1, x minus 1 all over 1. And then I'm going to do x plus 1, x minus 1 all over 1. So now that I have multiplication, then that means I can start finding my big ones. So I have an x plus 1 and an x plus 1. And remember, this strategy only works when I have this equal sign as part of my problem and I'm solving. And then I have x minus 1 right here, which is a 1. And then I have an x plus 1 here and an x minus 1 here. Those are all 1s. So then I'm left with 3 times x minus 1 is equal to 1 times x plus 1, so 1 times x plus 1 minus 2. That's what I'm left with. So then I need to distribute, and I end up with 3x minus 3 is equal to x plus 1 minus 2. Now I need to combine my like terms. So right here I have 3x minus 3 is equal to x minus 1, because 1 minus 2 is minus 1. And then I'm going to get my x's on one side and my numbers on the other. So I like to keep my x's positive, so I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and I'm going to end up with 2x minus 3 is equal to negative 1. Then I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and I'm going to get 2x is equal to 2. I'm going to divide by 2, and I get x is equal to 1, because 2 over 2 is 1. Now, the question is, will that work? So I can do two things. I can go look at my domain right here, and it says it is all real numbers such that x does not equal negative 1 or 1. Well, I got that it's a 1. So that means it's probably not going to work, but what I want to do now is plug it back in. So it says, since the proposed solution is not in the domain, then it cannot be an actual solution of the equation. By substituting the 1 back in, I'm going to show you why. So this is what we've been talking about. I told you I miss this stuff all the time, but we got to plug it in and check. So if I replace, now that I've said x equals 1, everywhere I see an x, if I replace it with a 1, then I can see it. So you can see with the blue numbers. And then I end up with 1 plus 1 is 2, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. Well, that breaks that fraction. And 1 squared is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0, so that breaks that fraction. You can't divide by 0. Like I always say, friends don't let friends divide by 0. So then this equation has no solution, and this means the solution set is the null set, meaning it doesn't have an answer. So we just have to be really careful with that. Go ahead and get this example down in your notes, and we will do this together. The first thing you need to do is you're going to need to factor. Okay, so the first thing I did is I factored. X squared plus x minus 6 is equal to x minus 2x plus 3. That factors. X squared minus 4 is a perfect square, so I'm going to do difference of squares, and I got x plus 2, x minus 2, and x squared plus 5x plus 6 factors to x plus 2, x plus 3. So I've already factored. Now my next step is to list my lowest common denominator. First off, I do have an equal sign, so I know I'm going to be able to use my solving thing where I'm going to multiply everything by the lowest common or the least common denominator. So I'm going to start with x plus x minus 2, and then x plus 3. So I've got that one. This has got an x plus 2. I don't have that written down yet, but I do have x minus 2 written down. And this has an x plus 2, which I have right here, and an x plus 3, which I have right there. So my lowest common, or my least common denominator is that. The next thing is I'm going to go straight, even though it doesn't say find the domain, I'm going to find the domain right away because I know that's going to make my problem solving a lot easier. So if I set all of these out equal to 0 and solve, I get x is all real numbers where x cannot equal a positive 2, a negative 3, or a negative 2. Okay, so as long as it's not those. Now I'm going to do my solving part. So go ahead, and I would like you to, in your notes, multiply by the lowest common denominator. Okay, so if I do that multiplying, I can do that right here. I have an x minus 2 and over an x minus 2. So you can see that I wrote the lowest common denominator all over 1. So I have x minus 2 right here. That turns into a 1. X plus 3, that turns into a 1. I have an x minus 2 right here, and an x plus 3 right here. That turns into a 1. I have an x plus 3 right here, and an x plus 2 right there. So, whoops. All right. So then I'm left with 4 times x plus 2, and then I have minus 1 times, what was I left with? X plus 3, and then that is all going to be equal to 2 times x minus 2. So now I need to simplify. So I need to distribute these, I need to distribute this, and I need to distribute this. So I am going to end up with 4 times x is 4x, 4 times 2 is a positive 8, negative 1 times x is negative x, negative 1 times a positive 3 is negative 3, and that's all going to be equal to 2 times x, which is 2x, and 2 times negative 2 is minus 4. Now I need to combine my like terms. So I have a 4x and a negative x, so I got 3x, 8 minus 3 is plus 5, and that is all going to be equal to 2x minus 4. Okay, so now I simplified. Now I need to just get all of my numbers on one side of the equation. So I have a positive. I like to keep my x positive, so I'm going to subtract 2x from this side, and I'm going to end up with x plus 5 is equal to negative 4, and I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, and I'm going to get x is equal to negative 9. Now, all I need to do now is to check my answer. Well, I can see right here, negative 9 is not in my domain, which means I'm going to be able to do that. So if I do, I'm going to replace every x with a 9. So go ahead and do that in your notes, and then check your answer with mine. So as you can see here, I went ahead and put that all into the original, and you can see that it works. It gives you an answer. So then the solution set would be negative 9. All right, so have a great day. If you have any questions, please come to class with them. Thank you.